So we met some friends for dinner tonight, and we haven't seen these guys for quite a while now. So it was really good to get together with them. But I'm not quite sure how we got on this topic, but we started talking about toys that we had when we were children. Things that would never fly today. And one of them is this cap pistol. So if you see this, there's a barrel, and the barrel slides open, and in here you fit with this little roll of cap paper. I'm not sure you can see that. I'll have to get a better picture of it and include it in the video. But it's a little roll of paper with little dots of gunpowder on it. So I'm going to demonstrate. I already warned my husband. I'm not quite sure my dogs are ready for this, but here we go. Oh, smell of gunpowder. What do you think, buddy? What do you think? Come here, boy. Come here. Want to smell it? No? Want to smell it? Come here. It's not going to hurt you. Yeah, he's not a fan. I'm going to shoot it one more time. And I'm using gun safety, so I'm shooting it straight up in the air. I'm not aiming it at anybody. But anyway, so when you pull the trigger, the little paper, cap paper, rolls in front of the hammer and bangs against that piece of gunpowder and makes the pop. And there goes the cap. So one last time, and I did warn my husband, my combat husband who has PTSD, I said, beware, you're going to hear some pops. Don't worry, I'm not hurting anybody. One more time. I'm going to try to get it up close. I don't know if that smoke is coming across. But anyways, cap guns. They were everywhere when we were a kid. But the thing, I don't think I had a cap gun. My father was not thrilled with the idea of guns. But I could buy these little rolls of cap paper. I'm going to unravel one. See that? It's just a piece of paper, and then there's these little black dots. And each one of those dots is a little blister that has a little dollop of gunpowder. So I wasn't allowed to have the gun, but we could buy these. And what we would do was we would put them on the concrete and get a penny or a dime. Dimes worked better because they have those little ridges on the edge of them. And you just scrape the dime across these little dots of gunpowder. They pop. So exciting. We could spend a good hour outside playing with these on the sidewalk, scraping little dots of gunpowder to make them explode with the edge of a dime. Such fun. Who knew? And nobody cared. Nobody minded. It didn't bother anybody. Nobody called the police on us or took them away from us. And that smell. Oh, I wish we had smell-o-vision. But that smell of that little burst of gunpowder popping. I was curious about what would happen if I lit one of these on fire. So I took a small segment of one and I took them outside on the driveway. And I lit the paper with my little Tesla electronic lighter, and I'll include that video in here later when I edit this. But it was so funny. I'm out there by myself. It's dark, it's night, it's like almost 11 o'clock. And I'm out there like a little kid on the driveway lighting up cap paper. So I'd light the end of the paper and I'm filming it and I'm watching, and then it would pop and I would jump. So the video is probably going to be all over the place. Pop! Such a doofus. But the funny part was every time, well, there's a couple of funny parts, but every time the flame would hit one of these little spots of gunpowder, the whole piece of paper would fly up in the air when it popped, thereby putting out the flame and then leaving the piece of paper at a different point on the driveway. So there I was, a almost 60-year-old adult woman chasing a piece of cap paper around the driveway with my little lighter, trying to get the very last dot of gunpowder lighted just to make it explode. How fun. So anyways, at dinner we got to talking about what other toys did we have as children that we could never imagine working out today. Cherry bombs was one of them. I don't know if you remember cherry bombs, but it was this little ball and it looked like a big old cherry. And then a fuse, a little piece of fuse would set down inside of it, and the fuses were always falling out. But you would light the fuse and then the cherry bomb would boom. I can't believe we didn't blow one another up or knock our eyes out. Nowadays you can buy much more exciting fireworks, but we thought that was very cool when we were kids. Another toy, I can't believe this one even was a toy. They were called Clackers. Clackers, Klackers. They were basically two hard, some sort of plastic sphere that was attached to a string. So there were two of them. They each had a string, and then the string was attached to a handle. So the entire purpose of the toy was to make noise. So the balls are next to each other, and you'd shake the handle, and the balls would go apart, and they would clack against each other. Oh my word. An entire neighborhood of children with their clackers. It kind of reminded you of I'm thinking about it, it's kind of like Dr. Seuss in the Grinch Who Stole Christmas when he talks about all the weird toys that the kids had. I think Dr. Seuss probably came up with clackers. And they were all the rage, but I don't know why, until one fateful day when the clackers broke. Some little kid was playing with them, and they clacked them too hard, and the clackers shattered, and boom, off the market. There they went, no more clackers. But every time I started going down these little paths of nostalgia, you know, with cap guns, and what a simpler time that was, wasn't it? And now I feel so old because I remember, like, you know, old people saying things like that when I was a child, saying, oh, the times were so much simpler. And now I'm looking and I'm saying that. But it's true. We had easy bake ovens where, yes, you could get a little envelope of mix and stir it up with, I'm pretty sure it was just water. Who knows what was in that? And then put it in a little teeny tiny tray that had edges on it, and you'd put that little tiny tray at the entry door to your easy bake oven, and you would turn it on. And when you turned it on, two light bulbs inside the easy bake oven would turn on, and a motor would it must have been a motor. Something actually pulled the little tray of chemically laden cake batter into the easy bake oven, and the lights would magically bake that little envelope of goo as it passed slowly beneath the bright and hot light bulbs. And you could watch through a little window in the easy bake oven. So you'd watch with anticipation as that little blob of goo magically transformed from goo into a cake. Yes, a cake. It would come out the other end in the little tray, and you would have a cake about the size of a moon pie, but much thinner. And I think the easy bake oven only came with, like, I don't know, five envelopes of mystery mix to make mystery cakes. But I remember getting one, and I was fascinated with it. I thought it was so cool. But of course, when you're out of the mix, what do? Well, in my household, my father's, one of his many famous phrases was, if you can't be bothered to make it from scratch, I can't be bothered to eat it. So we did a lot of scratch stuff at home. We didn't do mixes. I don't think we did mixes of anything. We made everything homemade. My mom had to learn how to do all this. And thankfully, thank you, Mom, she taught me how to do all this. So I have been baking homemade pies and cakes and breads and candies and all that kind of stuff since I was tall enough to reach the edge of the kitchen counter. But so anytime she would bake a cake, I would beg a little few dollops of batter, and our cake for our family would end up being just a little bit flatter than normal. But then I would put it in my easy bake oven and watch it go past the magic light bulbs. Oh, good heavens. Whoever came up with that was a genius. To sell, like, light bulbs to a child and tell them it's an oven. Huh. Let's see, what was another favorite? Light Bright. We didn't have Light Bright, but my cousin did. So that was very exciting to go and be able to play with Janine's Light Bright. But again, what a genius idea, but like way simple. It was a light board with a pegboard on it, a clear plastic pegboard, and it came with these pieces of paper that had designs on them. And you would put the piece of paper in the device so you could see the design through the clear plastic pegboard, And then you would get these little colored light bulbs, turn the thing on, get these little colored light bulbs and push them through the hole, and then it would go through the piece of paper and would connect and light up. You know, the circuit would be completed after it pushed through the paper. The marketing on this thing was hilarious. Children can now paint with colored light. What? Paint with colored light? No, you're pushing the little light bulbs into a piece of paper. But anyway, it was quite the rage. Loved that. Silly Putty. I could play with Silly Putty for hours. It was this little egg, and it had this white putty inside of it. And what we would do is we would take that putty, and our favorite thing, we would press it down over one of the comic strips in the newspaper. And like magic, you would peel the Silly Putty off, and the comic strip would be on your Silly Putty. How cool was it? It was like your own little miniature printing press. And so after about, I don't know, 3 seconds would, you know, the thrill would wear off. You'd smush it all together and you'd find another comic, and you do that over and over again. And finally, when the Silly Putty went from this pretty little like white ball of putty to this gray, dirty, disgusting ball of used up newsprint, then the Silly Putty would double as a Super Ball. It wasn't quite a Super Ball. Those Whammo came out with Super Balls. And they were just like these hard plastic balls, and but they bounced way higher than any other ball that we had ever seen. So another thing, probably just to drive parents crazy, we would sling those things and they would bounce all over the place, like to the ceiling, to the floor, to the ceiling, to the floor, to the wall. And, you know, racquetball didn't exist, but it was kind of like racquetball. But there was no points. Anyways, Silly Putty was another fun one. Slinkies, a spring, basically a spring. We're going to sell a thin, flat, coiled piece of metal that's basically a spring, and we're going to sell it as a toy and call it a Slinky. Again, we played with it for hours. Okay, who used Slinkies? What did you do with your Slinky? What did everybody try to do with the Slinky? You try to get it to walk down the stairs. So you put it at the top stair, and then you set it up straight, and then you bend aside over, and if you do it just right, then the Slinky, as it collapses on top of itself, it teeters over the edge, and it walks down the stairs. I think I never got mine to go more than about, 3 steps. By the time I went through 3, nice stepping iterations, then it just rolled down the steps. But we still thought it was fun. But the dangerous cap gun. My friend Richard Mooney, it's his fault that I have this thing. He posted a picture on his Facebook page of this toy. And it just brought back so many memories. I had to have one. So, silly me, we have way too much money in our country. I went out and found a place that sold them, and I bought my own cap gun. So, I don't know, maybe I'll save it and give it to one of my grandchildren if their parents will allow it for simpler days. Now, back then, they have now any kind of a toy gun, they have these orange safety, it's not really safety, this little orange thing at the end of the gun, which allows anybody with who knows anything to know that it's not a real gun, it's just a toy. But if somebody were to take that off, then it would look like a real gun, and if you're playing with a gun, it looks like a gun, you better be prepared to be treated as if you're carrying a gun. But this is just a toy. So anywho, I guess that's it for tonight. My cap gun story and stories of a few nostalgic toys. If you would, I would love to find out, if you would place in the comments of this video, what was your favorite toy as a child? I really want to know. And then what time frame, what years? Like for me, this was the 60s, maybe early 70s, but primarily the 60s. So cap gun in the 60s. So in the comments below, just for fun, pop a comment as to what toy do you remember as a child, and if it was a dangerous toy, would be considered a dangerous toy today, that even better. And then what time frame, what decade that was. So this would be kind of fun to see what other toys other people remember. So that's it for tonight. Take care, and God bless.